talk to Mario Phillips. And let's join our meeting with him now as we switch into this. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I can. Yes, sir. We are live.
Awesome.
I don't know who watches. I don't know the number when I'm on the screen here, but my favorite part is just popping in, making sure the sound works, and just jumping in and have a conversation with you. So how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I love the setup. I love the mic.
Thank you.
I
Thank
love
you.
the for the viewers at home. We get dozens of viewers for our show and then on our podcast and through our newsletter. We met a couple years ago, 6 years ago now, something like
At
that.
least it was before COVID, so just before. I think like maybe a few months. Actually, matter of fact, I remember having a coffee with you the weekend spring training shut down right when COVID was becoming a thing in America.
That is right. At the time, I was running More Than Baseball. At the
Yes.
time, you were a sports agent
Yep.
and have since transitioned into leadership coaching. And I would love to talk about that in just a second.
Absolutely.
People think being a sports agent is just, maybe it depends on the sport because there's money coming in early on for some athletes. I'm sure your perspective on that might have changed recently with how money is flowing into NIL. I would love to hear your perspective, but I was going to ask, how unsexy is it to be a sports agent? But what is your experience? What was your experience doing it? Why want to do it? Why move out of it? I think people would be very interested in knowing.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jeremy, and thanks, man, for having me. I appreciate this, and I really love what you're doing. And I mean, I'm biased. This is what you're doing is the intersection of, two types of people I love working with: founders and athletes. So it's pretty cool, man. But yeah, to answer your question, I had a pretty good 25-year career, military, law enforcement. Large part of the military work was leadership development as a military officer, so that was my jam. And I love working with people. I love helping people be their best. And I just kind of felt stagnant in my career, and I knew I had wanted to do something with athletes. And I had, started going to the winter meetings, networking, and this is over the course of a few years, like mid 2010s. And then I had a couple seeds planted. And long story short, I had a coach who was like, "Hey, I know you want to become an agent. I have a player who's in the Rangers organization that needs representation." And I thought, what the heck? I'm going to do it. So it was my little side hustle, and it grew from that guy to some of his former teammates who were in the Cleveland system, the Giants system. And then I met you, and you sent some guys my way. And there were some really good dudes that I was able to help. I didn't get to represent all of them. And that's one thing I learned that I give advice to younger agents or people aspiring to become agents is, hey, you have to understand your bandwidth, because most agents who are starting out, as you know, have to have other jobs to pay the bills. It's not sexy, as you were saying. And so, not everyone's the Scott Boris or even the like the Wasserman or the Beverly Hills Sports Agency or Sports Council. There's a lot of and there's a lot of solopreneurs who are trying to do good stuff. And I'd say most people enter it for the right reasons. Like for me, I wanted to help guys and be that guy in their corner to help them in their career. And I knew that I wasn't going to make any money off of it off the bat, but it was going to be for me a good vehicle to explore my passion and also to meet good, cool people in baseball like yourself and other people who I got to meet. And but yeah, when you're out there on your own, you have to be in that limited bandwidth, you have to be really choosy about who you're going to represent. And I've mentored some younger agents. I'm like, hey, they'll call me and they'll run this guy by me, and they're like, well, he says he knows that based off his off season training, he's gonna have a big year next year. And I look at the guy's numbers, and he hit like 167 in the Frontier League. And I mean, that's more than I'd ever hit in the Frontier League. But I'm just saying, if you're going to spend your time representing somebody, especially when you have limited bandwidth, you got to try and pick and choose and be professional and supportive about it to them. You don't have to be an a-hole, but you know, it's just it becomes something that you have to know is going to be the long game. And I was only in it for about 3 years. I was able to help some guys, and I'm still in touch with a couple of them. One of them's pitching for the Savannah Bananas now, and he's loving life. He's having a great time. Frankie Muscatello, he's doing great. But that led me to, it opened up a lot of doors for me, and it showed me through those guys and talking to guys like you who lived it as well, where some of the gaps are and some of the reasons that led you to form More Than Baseball and do the work you did, which I'm not comparing to that, by the way. You did so much cool stuff, man. But I wanted to, like, along those same lines, I wanted to help guys in a different way. And I started thinking about what is my experience base? What am I good at? And it's not saying I wouldn't be open to going back to representing players, but maybe with some partners, some more capital, whatever the case may be. But then, so I ended up using my GI Bill for a coaching certification program. So I'm a certified International Coach Federation coach, and my niche is leadership development because that's what I've known. And I work with founders, which is again where our work I think like really intersects with athletes and founders. And I like helping high performers be their best self. So on that line of thought, right now I've designed a program called the Six Tool Program, and I'm pitching that to any MLB player development person that will listen to me, and hopefully at some point get to. I've talked to some of the higher decision makers, like one GM and a couple of farm directors, and usually they'll pass me off. The farm directors at least will pass me off to their staff. But I feel like this Six Tool Program would be an area where I can enter as a consultant into an organization and help players develop those soft skills, emotional, and those things that will help them also, again, to intersect with your work, look to a future beyond baseball. Because whether you're a minor leaguer who plays 1 year, or even if you're a perennial all-star, your career is going to end at some point, and you need to have that plan, as you are building here, so well.
Well aware.
Yeah, man. So that's just the long and short of it. Where my passion lies, and like with founders, that's where I'm really excited about doing that work. More so, I've done a lot of coaching engagements and some contracts as an executive coach with some governmental departments and universities, but really like I'm angling towards the startup founder and with a smattering of athletes. So that's where I'm at.
A lot to unpack.
Yeah, but I threw a lot at you.
No, but an excellent recap of, being a sports agent, being an agent in baseball, you're going to get paid as part of the draft. But a lot of the times, nobody has an agent when they're drafted. And even if they're drafted in the 10th round, you're getting a percent of $100,000 or whatever it might be, right? We're not talking about like the big first round names.
Yep.
Helping a guy in the minor leagues is as unsexy, as unlucrative as it is playing in the minor leagues. Because and correct me if I'm wrong, but agents aren't getting paid until players make it past arbitration still.
Correct. And so that's three plus years.
3+ years in the bigs.
Yeah. I mean, there's some of the Super 2 guys, but basically three years plus. So you're not getting paid by this guys in the minors or up until they have 3 years of service time, if they make it that far.
And so being an agent, honestly, is the beginning of. I would be interested to have NFL agents on and NBA agents on. But the thing that you're doing in leadership coaching is a logical next step and expansion to, I can help this guy negotiate, find deals, make connections, but ultimately I am there to represent his best business interests. And a lot of the times for these guys, they have a small window. We talk about this every single day on the show.
Yeah.
They have a small window to be in the room.
Right.
They have a very small window to create an opportunity for themselves to distribute themselves in the thing that they are doing. The ethos of Open Athletes is, number one, how is the money moving in sports? That's number one. Where is the money moving in and out of sports? Number two, how can we leverage our time into the room? We talked about a guy yesterday, freshman basketball player at Duke. Instead of getting just a licensing fee to distribute as part of his NIL, he got a percentage of equity. Mm-hmm. Right. So these things are moving into sports. Mm-hmm. How have you seen in your transition from agent, and I'm sure you could still do the agenting, but agent to more specifically like now doing the leadership coaching, how athletes are thinking about their time in the room, their time in the window to then benefit themselves after they're done playing?
It's a great question. And, and also just a caveat, I ceased representing players just before NIL kind of became a thing. But I have a close buddy who used to work for a major league organization. He was a scouting coordinator. He's jumped into agenting now that he's not working in for a club. And so I'm kind of living the NIL through him. He'll bounce things off of me, and he's becoming more of a subject matter expert than I am. But what I'm sensing from talking to him and just talking to other people I come across in baseball or friends who have kids that are, the travel ball players and elite guys, and they're hearing things. There's this sense, and this, I want to say, this generation of young kids coming up right now, they're really, really savvy, and they get a lot of flack and other things, but in a lot of ways, they are very savvy, and they're afraid of being taken advantage of. So I think that's the sense in the room right now, right? Like, hey, I'm this, marketable guy or gal. I want to do some, good stuff in it because I don't know if I like they kind of realize I might not have a professional chapter. So what can I do to leverage this? But oh wait, there's so many people out there, so much noise around this. Someone might take advantage of me. Who can I trust? So I think even more so than ever, Jeremy, this is an era where agents of character who can help should help, and it's so unregulated, but yet trying to be regulated, and there's so much uncertainty, and it's a wild west, man. So I don't have like a clear answer or solution to this, but I think there needs to be some sort of, I don't know, some sort of regulation that at least prevents shady people from entering the profession. I don't know what the answer is to that, but that's what it is, Jeremy. Is these kids don't know where to turn for the most part.
I'm happy you brought that up. Part of what we're trying to build at Open Athletes is cost-free or very little cost representation for athletes to help negotiate and find NIL deals to leverage them into the room. This is a
I love
conversation
that.
that we should
Yeah,
have offline. But
definitely.
what I'm seeing a lot of, are you familiar with the thing going on with Kawhi Leonard and all of the reporting allegedly?
I've seen some of it. I'm not super in depth knowledgeable on it, but I've seen the headlines.
There are reports of behind the scenes dealings to help, circumvent the salary cap, per reporting we've seen from Pablo Torre and
Mm-hmm.
others.
Mm-hmm.
Due in large part to a character in this story called Uncle Dennis. Uncle Dennis is going around to these different companies, according to the reporting, saying, well, you should give, Kawhi this for, no-show deals and all this stuff to then maximize, like, leverage their time in the room. It's happening in multiple places across the country, okay? In my understanding, the things happening in NIL, it's not just one Uncle Dennis. It feels like there's a lot of Uncle Dennis's representing
I think that's
athletes,
right. I think
trying to
that's right.
maximize their, while there is still very little restriction. We've talked a little bit about, yes, there's some refereeing, but the referees are basically owned by the conferences, and the conferences are deciding whether or not something is legit or not, and there's really no barrier to entry. And so I would think that you're seeing the same thing in your conversations with people. It's that
Definitely. That is, yeah,
it's not
spot
good.
on, man.
Yeah.
Not good. Yeah, spot on. That is definitely a sidebar conversation to be had, because I think there's some opportunities for reputable people like yourself to step in and really help these guys and girls, man. They need it.
There's so much money going into college sports. If you are a parent of a college athlete, if you are an agent representing college athletes, or professional athletes, if you are the athletes themselves, is there anything that you have seen in your time doing this or helping athletes think about their leverage outside of sport that you would want our audience to know?
Well, I think just the idea of thinking about that, you talk to young kids, old kids, grown-ups, adults who are in the sport at a high level. Even if they're not in the majors, like a minor league player who's been around for a while, like they're focused on the here and now and trying to make, stick around, make it to the next level, whatever the case may be, as they should. But at the same time, not having that plan for that what's next is, as I'm sure you've seen with some of your friends, like it becomes like a hard stop, and then life is becomes difficult. And because that's players or athletes at that level are rooted in the identity of being a professional athlete or an elite athlete. So, I mean, whether we're talking about a college kid who maybe will have this 4-year collegiate career, or a professional in any sport who may have a short career, again, or a long one, because I think you need to plan for you're most likely not going to play past your 30s in whatever sport you're playing. Unless you're Tom Brady. But it's just having a plan and working with if it's your, maybe it shouldn't be your agent. Oh, maybe somebody else that can have like this other outside perspective. but having that perspective and that plan, and it doesn't not every athlete has to build a business, not everybody is probably equipped to be an entrepreneur, but I
Mm.
think in their own, I think everyone in their own way can be entrepreneurial. And so whether that's them like thinking outside the box and designing their next career, going into broadcasting, going into front office, whatever it is, coaching, at whatever level, like having somebody that can help them design that before the time comes. And adding on to that, this is my long-winded answer to your question. Adding on to that is building out that network. I think the network is everything. And even if you're not in the room, there's other smaller rooms you can be in to get you to that big room. And that, so I guess to sum it all up, is having a plan of some sort, or start thinking about that way before things start going sideways for you or start wrapping up, before you start breaking down. And and then on top of having that plan, which I think is so important, is again having that network. Start building that network while you're young. Maybe you're in the room, maybe you're in smaller rooms. Build that network out. Have those resources, because you and I know. And again, I heard something recently from a business coach I follow, so I can't take credit for this, but and you've probably heard this. The old saying was, it's not it's basically who you know, but now it's like, no, it's who knows you.
Mm.
You need to be aware of who knows you and create that as best you can. And so I love working with clients on that too, because so many people feel icky about networking, but it doesn't have to be that way.
It
So
doesn't have to be that way. The reason why open athletes exist, number one, to have these conversations. Okay, we'll say this every single day. Number two, it's the can this conversation help somebody, or can the platform that's being created
for
assist
sure,
somebody in that development? How can it
for sure.
help the people building phillipsleadershipcoaching.com, but also how can it help the athletes thinking about it, or the brands that want to get into sports? Can we do things the right way? It's not what you know anymore. It's not even who you know anymore. You're totally right. It's who knows you. And I think as athletes think about the connection between they are in the room for this amount of time, and it's not what you know, it's not who you know anymore, it's who knows you. I think a light bulb's going to go off for a lot of people to say,
I hope so.
I have this very small window, and how do I leverage the fact that like
Yep.
I am here for 2 years,
Yep.
maybe.
I wish I knew that when I was in my 20s. If I had that perspective, things, yeah, I'm enjoying life. I'm not complaining. What I'm saying, like, I think that would have helped me in many ways. So
See, I told you 15 minutes. We're going to just go in and
it's
out, and it's
gone.
going
It's
to be
gone.
great.
No,
Can
I
you,
enjoyed it, man. I love what you're building. This is so cool, and I
uh,
really appreciate you having me.
we're going to have you back because I think you have an
That's
interesting
awesome, man. Yeah.
perspective on building, on leadership coaching, on what it's like to be an agent, how to leverage your time in the room. Where can people find you? What's something you want to leave with our people?
So my website's phillipsleadershipcoaching.com. If you're on LinkedIn, just find me on LinkedIn. I'm connected with Jeremy. And I also want to offer Jeremy, and however we package this is up to you, but I'd love to offer some pro bono free coaching to any athletes that are working with you. So if they're watching this or they're thinking about working with you, they can get some free pro bono coaching with me. We can work that out, what that looks like, but it can be what I do for startup founders or for athletes I've worked with in the past, kind of like almost like a career coaching type of session, but really a free for all session. Like I'm a certified coach again, so it's like I can be that sounding board and hopefully help somebody get organized and help them figure out the way ahead.
As part of joining Open Athletes, people get access to a Slack channel. This is where we communicate. Part of our cohorts, our athlete founders who are in there. I would love to have you as a mentor in that, so people can connect directly with you. And I think you have a lot to share and give to folks.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it,
You
man.
got it.
It's great.
Okay.
It's great being on your show.
I appreciate it. We will be in touch. I'll shoot you a text
Yes,
later
sir.
today, and hopefully some of our folks can start working with Mario.
Awesome. Well, hope you guys all have a blessed day. Take care.
Thank you, buddy.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
See, that's how it's done. Tight 15 minutes coming in, talking about being an agent, coming in and talking about the things that are happening in sports that are most important that an athlete should know, that a leadership coach can teach. I think it's very important. Coaches need coaching, athletes need coaching, and I think Mario's a good dude, and I think he's able to help open doors where possible, and I think he has the right head on his shoulders to where the right conversations are had with guys like Mario who are doing it for the right reason. I've seen it for half a decade now. Mario is good people, and I'm honored to have him on, but I think there's a lot of value that he's going to be able to provide to our open athletes community, our athletes in our cohorts, and eventually you out there watching. So we'll share a note later this week in our recap about Mario's work. As we start to have other people on as well. Mario is just our second interview. We had Jake Fishman, who's building an app in baseball to help pitchers pitch better, called Pitch Lab, pitchlab.app if you're interested. We're going to have J.R. Butler, who's helping athletes transition from being an athlete into tech sales. We're going to have Scott Schebler on over the next couple of months, former major leaguer, doing the same thing, helping athletes transition into sport. We're going to have different athletes that are doing public speaking or doing leadership coaching or other things that are benefiting like the athlete founder economy. And I think we are trying to highlight the best ones. We are trying to highlight the things that are most important in sport.